What's going on, everyone? Today we have the patch notes for patch 15.3. Last patch, there are a lot of different things going on, lots of hot fixes. So hopefully this time around, we're going to have a bit more of a stable patch. Let's go over the summary first, and then we're going to cover each and every change, along with how they may or may not affect the meta. So first things first, we have buffs. Monster Trainer, Star Guardian, Wraith, Gangplank, Jhin, Xayah, Senna, Jinx, Ryze, Lee Sin, Seraphine, and Yone. 7 augments being buffed, including Aim for the Top, a Wraith augment, and then the Dr. Mundo hero augment, and then 4 items getting buffed. Radiant Adaptive, I built that earlier today, wasn't the best thing ever. Regular blue buff, Seeker's Arm Guard, and then for nerfs, they're nerfing Crystal Gambit again, Mighty Mech, Luchador, Nefiri, Syndra, Dr. Mundo, Kabuko, Caitlyn, Smolder, Yasuo, Karma, and Yumi. So pretty much everything that was strong in the last patch, they are going to be nerfing. But they're buffing a lot of the weak stuff. So yeah, Gangplank definitely could have been softened up a bit during his nerf because he got nerfed too much. Senna, gonna be surprising, but I think Senna and Ryze were actually viable last patch in some weird builds. So the buff to them could mean that they are going to be the main comms of this next patch. We'll have to see how big the numbers are though. But for the nerfs, Karma, Yumi, the default APs definitely need a nerf. That Caitlyn, come on, man. Like, Caitlyn was absolutely destroying everything. There are some bugs around her also. I'm surprised Smolder's being nerfed. I don't think Smolder was that OP, but we'll have to see what they actually do. So 6 augments are also being nerfed. Strategist, Isekai, and the Sorcerer one. And then 9 items being nerfed, including Rageblade, Radiant Shojin, and Flickerblade, and then they're also adjusting Samira. So TFT rotating shop, we have a Karma, and I think this is Aurelia chibis out there, and then purchasing Battle XP Pass, they can be purchased for 130 RP per level. System changes, power-ups with weights of 0 will now correctly be hidden. Max speed is being changed from 0 to 10, Mana Rush 0 to 5. I think these zeros were just ones that they're trying to add in a bit later, but they're fixing that now. They won't be seen at all. And then max speed means you gain 10% attack speed and permanently gain 1.5% every 3 takedowns. So it's another one of those stacking augments. And then Mana Rush, you're going to start combat with full mana. We've seen this before, but I think they removed it temporarily and now it is going to be back. Cool on stuff like Jarvan. Next one up we have is Prismatic Orbs. 55 gold is being changed to 10 gold plus Radiant Lucky item chest. Wow, that is insane. Getting all gold when your opponents are being showered in items can feel pretty bad. We're changing all the gold drops to make it feel more even across the board. I wonder how much gold would make it feel good. Like, is it 65 gold? Is it 75 gold? Who knows? But I guess we will never know for Prismatic Orbs because they're changing it to 10 gold plus a Radiant Lucky item chest. Radiant Lucky item chest seems absolutely bonkers. You just get an insane item for your main carry or main tank. Feels like it's going to be really good. That's an absolutely bonkers reward. If you think about taking Prismatic Pipeline, you know, it's not going to be so bad if you compare it to Radiant Relics. Like, obviously, you're going to be down an augment for 4 rounds until the neutral round comes about, but you get the 10 gold and you get a lucky item chest instead of just 4 random Radiants. So it definitely could be something that's pretty decent. Next one up we have is 4 stars. 4-star flat HP bonus is being removed. It's going to go from 200 to 0. Not too many changes there. It's very rare that you hit a 4-star, really only when you get worth the weight or protagonist. Armory pop-out lockout timer. Safety timer for armories has been reduced for some armories, including Power Snacks, Crystal Gambit, and Lee Sin. So you can do things a bit faster now. Large changes, large like a bouncing Zac balloon. Traits that are being changed are Crystal Gambit. Gems per loss is going to be increased from 11 to 13, but 7 Crystal Gambit is going to get nerfed. So they're buffing the lose streak, so that definitely helps out a lot for every other comp out there. And then for 7 Crystal Gambit, you get 10 less damage amps. So is this enough? I don't really know. Like, Crystal Gambit is pretty hit or miss already because you need Zyra. If you hit Zyra early, then you're chilling. If not, you're in a bit of trouble, and then you have to win a couple rounds after that. But it's pretty easy to win with 7 Crystal Gambit because you get like 500 health on every unit and 30% damage amp being changed to 20. I still think it's probably going to be decent, but obviously not as good as before, but probably still going to be playable, but you don't hard force it anymore. Last patch, people were kind of hard forcing Crystal Gambit. Now you can only probably go for it during a good spot. Mighty Mech 3 HP scaling is going to be changed and scale a little bit less in the later parts of the stages. And then the combination core healing is going to be changed from 10% of champion damage to 12%. Do they talk about that here at all? With 2 forecasts, Mighty Mech 3 is easily splashable to provide a powerful late game CC with Jarvan 4 and recently a buffed Yone, and a damage to and a damage with Battle Top Karma. So we're lowering the late game scaling for Mighty Mech 3 and reducing the healing it receives to cut back on the frontline power that the trait provides. That is true. It is a pretty back heavy trait, so it is pretty splashable in a lot of different comps. Luchador heal is going to be nerfed a bit, 20 to 15% heal, and then 50% to 35%. And then Luchador no longer cleanses damage over time effects upon triggering, so that's a huge Luchador nerf. I wonder how they're going to compensate for the Volibear comps, where you go like Volibear plus Edgelord, because that comp, it was like playable, right? But it wasn't like all that great because they nerfed it in a hotfix. But with these huge nerfs, like, I don't know, they're going to have to do something to give some power back to that build. However, for Juggernauts, this definitely gets a lot more manageable, but still going to be pretty playable. You really only played 2 Luchador in that comp. Monster Trainer XP bonus slightly increased. Star Guardian Artery bonus is going to be 3 mana over 2 seconds being buffed up to 5 mana over 2 seconds. And then Wraith proc damage is going to be buffed up a tiny bit at each breakpoint. 1 cost units, Nefiri Shield is going to be dropped a smidge. Syndra is going to be nerfed a tiny bit. Believe it or not, Syndra was a very OP character in the last patch. She could carry in Star Guardians really, really, really well. But that was mainly due to Rising Chaos. So I am betting that they're going to be nerfing that. We're just going to have to wait and see if they do. 2 cost units, we are going to look at Dr. Mundo getting a HP gain nerf. Yeah, Mundo with the Luchador, absolutely bonkers tank for a 2 cost. So yeah, this nerf is definitely well deserved. Like, they honestly should have done it before. Gangplank ability damage is going to be buffed back up a little bit. So obviously it's not going to be the GP OP-ness that we saw before. But hopefully he does have a spot, especially in the early game. Like, sometimes I get an early 2-star Gangplank and I'm like, do I even want to play this? And it's like, I don't know. But now, like, hopefully you should definitely want to play it. Like, it should help you win streak and have a chance to farm you gold, though they are lowering that a bit. But just winning rounds in general with it, like, should be fine, right? Jin's 4-shot will now redirect if the target dies while it is mid-flight. Kabuko Mentor Form Shield is going to be nerfed a little bit at 2 and 3-star. The slam HP ratio is going to be reduced, and then the secondary form HP ratio is going to be reduced as well. Kabuko was kind of like a bonkers tank in For Mentor, but it's kind of hard to get there. They say Kabuko is exclusively itemized as a tank in For Mentor, and he's able to constantly damage the backline, chipping away at them while he absorbs tons of abilities and focus. Isn't that the job of a tank? This change will ensure that he is being built as a tank, and he also won't be topping damage charts with high value backline access. So I don't know if he was doing that much damage, but like, I'm probably still going to be putting all my tank items on him after this change anyways. But Xayah ability damage is going to be increased a little bit. Xayah, probably one of the worst Star Guardian units, but not really her fault. She's mainly just used as an item holder for Jinx. 3 cost units, Caitlyn, probably the most OP unit for 3 cost last patch, is going to be getting a nerf at all levels, 1, 2, and 3-star for both the primary target damage and the bouncing bullet damage. Senna ability AD is going to be buffed up. I talked about Senna a bit before. It looks like these numbers are pretty juicy. I can definitely see people checking for a over 9,000 Senna in early part of the game, and then just hard forcing the comp after that. Definitely should be a viable reroll comp at 3 costs. Smolder's getting a nerf for some reason. Do they talk about it here? Because I don't really think he needed one. It's I want to be the very best, not I want to pick the very best. Smolder's been far and above the bestest boy in Monster Trainer lineup. That is true. I'm not going to contest that point. But you have to ask yourself, was Smolder itself OP? Like, yeah, if you're OP compared to Kog'Maw, like, no kidding, right? I'm pretty sure the worst unit in the game was Kog'Maw, so it's not really comparing to much, right? So with the buff to Trainer XP, we're toning him down slightly to make sure that he doesn't ramp out of control. But did you do anything for Kog'Maw to give him a little juice? I don't really see anything here. If we look at the stats and look at 3 cost units and sort by average placement, let's do 3-star average placement. Like, yeah, Kog'Maw looking like he could do a little bit better. Also, no one plays him. His play rate is 0.02 compared to 0.13 for Rammus and 0.19 for Smolder. So there's not really many people going for Kog'Maw, but I have heard there's this shielding build that works pretty decently on him. But next change is going to be Yasuo. Yasuo is going to be getting buffed. Oh, there's definitely going to be a Senna Yasuo build that's coming out. You do Senna with mentors, and then normally you do Rise secondary carry, but maybe you could do Senna plus Yasuo. I saw this comp a little bit towards the end of the last patch, but let's see what they're doing. So they're buffing his base form and then nerfing his mentor form. Okay, never mind. Probably want to stick to Rise then after reading this, because what they want to do is mentor form Yasuo is very good, but his base form not so much. We're reducing the gaps between his forms. So in the Senna mentor build, like maybe you itemize Yasuo if you get him for free, but if not, go for Rise secondary. 4 cost units, we have Jinx damage going to be increase at all levels. Star Guardian should be a lot better for the attack damage path now because they nerfed Syndra, but they buffed Xayah and then Jinx. Karma is going to get a slight nerf here. Doesn't seem to be that much of a nerf, but she definitely did deserve it. One of the more consistent 4 costs out there. Rise ability damage is going to be buffed up a little bit, and then the mentor form also going to be buffed up. Samira bug fix properly doubles her Styles Omnivamp during her ability. Bullet damage is going to be nerfed a little bit at 1 and 2 star, and then big cast damage also nerfed at 1 and 2 star, and then Yuumi, true damage is going to be changed from 32% of base damage to 30% base damage. So Samira was previously not getting her double Omnivamp during her ability. I did notice that. I was like, do I need to build Hand of Justice on her? And sometimes I would, because I felt like she just died a bunch. I had no idea that it was just bugged. So now you don't need to build that anymore. But now that she is fixed, she should be able to survive more, and they need to compensate that. 5 cost units, Lee Sin Executioner form primary target damage is going to be bumped up 1 and 2 star. I think Executioner Lee Sin is great for carrying, but you need to be 2 star and you need items for him, so that's why most people pick the other forms, but should be fun to kind of do. Juggernaut mana is going to be buffed up a little bit, and then form primary target damage is going to be buffed up as well. Seraphine ability base damage is going to be touched up a little bit. Yone attack speed on hit being buffed up, and then on hit magic damage also being buffed up. Yeah, they're probably the 2 weakest 5 costs. You really only played them if your trait allowed you to. You didn't really play them alone ever. But I guess they're mainly fixing it for aura farming, which is the augment that gives you a 5 cost unit sometime in stage 4. But speaking of augments, aim for the top. This was one of the worst augments because you just got horrible matchups every single time. But your first win grants a component and then 1 component every 3 wins. They are buffing it up a little bit. Dazzling display damage reduction 25 to 20%. That's a sorcerer one. Deepening Shadows, AD and AP per proc, this is for Wraith, is being buffed up from 5 to 6. Diamond Hands is removed. I thought they removed it already before, but Game Plan, that's the strategist one. Health is being changed from 200 to 100. Give him the chair, Mundo Hero Augment, percent HP auto damage is being buffed up by 1%. This felt really bad to take in the past couple of patches, but now that Mundo isn't as powerful anymore, maybe he's going to be easier to 3-star, so maybe the Hero Augment isn't a bad idea to take. Howling Gale mana per gale is being buffed up by 50, so you only need 550 mana to cast instead of 600. Isekai no longer grants Hand of Justice. That's a huge nerf, holy cow. Should they have maybe just made it give a tier or a glove or something like that? Never mind, this is probably still going to be a good unit. Echo's just really good, especially in Sorcerers. Schoolyard Justice Garen's stat mod is going to be nerfed a little bit. He was one of the best hero augments, if not the best. Starfall Nico heal is going to be buffed up. Starfall stat mod is going to be nerfed for base attack speed, but buff for overall attack speed. Did they talk about that change here? So we're moving their base attack speed buff into an additional stat mod, which will function more similarly to equipping attack speed item or selecting an attack speed augment like pumping up. This will make Rageblade less of a dominant item and should open up other build paths. I have seen some weird stuff happen, like whenever you see Malphite with a Rageblade, like that doesn't make sense, right? So they're going to be changing that. I actually completely agree with this change. But Sunfire Board duration is going to be increased by 3 seconds. I thought this augment was fine. I don't know why they buffed it, to be honest. Tectonic Titan Malphite stat mod, 0.8 attack speed is being changed to 0.55 and then 50% attack speed. Tiny Team bonus 175 to 200, and then tournament favorite breakpoints, they're going to actually increase 4 to 7. Holy cow. I thought these breakpoints were already pretty hard to get to. You have to be win streaking for some part of the game to get to this in a relatively safe manner. So this seems a little bit dangerous to me. I don't think this is going to be that great. I thought the augment was good before, but I thought you just hit all your breakpoints like right at the opportune time. So hitting them a bit later is going to definitely hurt a ton. Items and radiant items. So blue buff mana regen is going to be buffed. Guinsoo's attack speed per second going to be nerfed. Shojin going to be nerfed, just 3 attack damage, not too crazy. Radiant Adaptive Helm is being buffed up. Radiant Blue buff is being nerfed. It's funny how regular blue buff is not that great of an item, but Radiant Blue was the best Radiant by far. Radiant Edge of Night has a new effect. It now heals a holder to full health after untargeted ability ends. It used to do this before. They removed it, so now they're adding it back in. Kind of confusing there, but they're also nerfing a bunch of other stuff. to kind of compensate for that buff. Guinsu's Radiant is going to be nerfed by 5% base attack speed and then 2% for attack speed per second. Still going to be great because so many units, if they need attack speed, this is going to be the best item for it. Radiant Infinity Edge, attack damage going to be nerfed by 5. Spear of Shojin, attack damage and AP both nerfed by 5. So now onto something bigger than the regular items and Radiant items. It's going to be the artifacts, because artifacts just define so many different comps. And wouldn't you know it, they're hitting the 3 best Radiant artifact items. So if we go to stats, items, and then sort by artifacts, we're going to see that the 3 best artifact items are going to be Manazane, Silvermere, and Flicker Blades by far. It's like 3.45, 3.49, 3.63, and then all the way down to 3.9. So yeah, definitely need to fix these 3. And then they're buffing up Seeker's Arm Guard, which was one of the worst ones. So Flicker Blade, you're going to get 1% less attack speed per attack. Manazane no longer banks mana and grants all of it after the second cast. Instead, it will pause the mana regen timer and start it when the champion is not mana locked. So you now get the mana gradually instead of all at once. Seeker's Arm Guard ability power is being buffed up from 30 to 40. Silvermere Dawn no longer converts 1% of damage taken into mana, and Silvermere Dawn resistance is going to be buffed up by 10. So definitely big change there, because if you needed mana, like Silvermere was a pretty good item for that, but they're removing that effect entirely. Power-ups, probably still going to be good though, because Silvermere Dawn is one of those items where it's very, 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 very niche. You can't just pick it and play any comp. You have to play very specific units, but on those units, it is godly. So still should be good, just not absolutely insane. Power-ups, Adaptive Skin total resists up by 5. Artistic KO down by 5% bonus KO damage. It's weird. Jhin has some other builds out there where you take Spirit Sword and do a 100% crit build. Kind of fun to kind of try out. Artistic KO buffs up his 4th shot. Spirit Sword buffs up every other shot. Best defense percent shield damage is going to be buffed up by 25. Bludgeoner, Armor Ignore, buff. Caretaker shields, this is the Cogmaw thing I was talking about. This one's going to be buffed up. Colossal, they're only nerfing it by 100 health. So Udyr is still probably going to be a thing. I didn't see any Duelist change. I didn't see any Udyr changes. So we're going to see Colossal Udyr still pumping out a lot of work. So I think that comp's still going to be meta. Definitely something to look out for. Though they did nerf Ashe's items, so there is some weakening to the comp, but Udyr itself still going to be pretty massive. They're also nerfing Colossal 2-star, but I think level 2 Colossal was kind of fun. I wish they, or I hope they don't nerf it too much, but yeah, they're nerfing the damage amp as well, 30% to 20%. Essence Share, Mana Share is going to be buffed up by 10%. Efficient Mana Reduction being nerfed 20 to 15. Fairy Tail going to get a small buff. Fairy Tail no longer offered on Samira. Fairy Tail is very good if you cast a lot, so if you have Prodigies or if you have like a Dawn Core or something like that, could be fun to try out in the early game. Fan service weight is going to be increased, and fan service will always be offered if the player already has fan service. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe there's going to be some Xayah Rakan builds out there in the next patch. Hat trick, base, attack damage, and AP can be nerfed. Yeah, win streaking with this was a little too easy if you were a little bit ahead with upgrades. Kahuna Huna fires missiles on attack rather than on hit, less likely to fire on a dead target. Icebender splash damage up by 10%. Wow, they really want people to play this Ryze Senna comp. Holy cow. I think it was already playable in last patch. Granted, it was uncontested, so it definitely should be at least A tier coming into this next week. Mech Pilot Health Share up by 10%. Max Arcana base AP up by 2. Max Speed, base attack speed up by 2. Attack speed per stack up by 0.5. Max Vitality 35 to 40. I think this augment's so horrible because I feel like standalone just gives more HP if that's what you're really looking for. Needlework bonus damage is going to get a small nerf. Not done yet health bonus nerfed. Ordinary health 300, 400, 600, 800 is going to be buffed at 3 and 4 star. Attack speed is going to be buffed across the board. Over 9,000 mana regen is now less common. That was the best one to roll. So yeah, they're nerfing over 9,000. Still should be good. And it no longer works on PvE rounds. Oh, that's a very interesting change. It only works on combat rounds now, so definitely not as good, but still something worth putting on your board and checking for in the early game, because if not, then this is just completely awful, right? I doubt it's that bad. But all the other stats are still pretty good, so definitely still a very takeable power-up. Precision bonus mana per attack is being nerfed by 5. Holy cow, that's an insane nerf. That's half. Precision attack speed no longer overrides Silvermere Dawn's 0.5 attack speed. Okay, I don't know if precision's that worth it anymore. It's like getting half a Spear Shojin or something like that, or maybe it's getting a Spear Shojin, but you just get so limited on your attack speed that I don't think this is worth it. Pursuit AP gain is going to be buffed up by 3. Resistant flat damage reduction is going to be nerfed by 5. This was one of the best generic tank augments, but yeah, going to be a lot worse after this. Robo Ranger stat share 35 to 50%. Round 2 health is going to be nerfed by 25%. Shadow Clone damage is going to be nerfed by 3%. Shadow Clone health 25%. Singularity health per death is going to be increased a bit. And then Socialite marked hex lifetime is going to be changed to 5 lifetime. Okay, so you have to remember to set up your Socialite hexes on the neutral round if you want to put it in back row, because normally Socialite units are melee units. So you don't want to put them in the back to spread the hexes out there. But health is going to be nerfed a bit, but overall I think this is a buff because you don't have to grief one of the rounds during the stage. So I think this is definitely a buff, even though the health is getting nerfed a bit. Actually, maybe it's a nerf. I don't know, because when it goes from 3 to 5, you could do some crazy repositionings. Most people just default to socialiting 2 different sections of the board and just switch off every single fight. But now with 5, you could spread it out onto the whole board eventually and then swap positionings or swap sides if you really want to. So it depends how much you want to sweat in terms of how good or bad this will be after this change. Spiky Shell damage per stage is going to be buffed up by 3. Stand United shield amount going to be buffed up 10%. Stand United MR per cast up by 15. And then Super Genius cadence is going to be changed from 1.5 to 2 seconds, so that's definitely a nerf there. Super Genius is also no longer offered on stage 2. This should still be a fine thing to take in Prodigies, just because they still scale so much from it. Unstoppable health is going to be changed from 300 to 150, and then Weight's durability is going to be nerfed by 18 to 12%. Now onto some small changes, small like chances of hitting Prismatic Mighty Mech last patch. Let's see, Mighty Mech Prismatic quest augments will now only appear when the augment rarities allow for all 3 augments to appear, so either gold, 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 or gold, gold Prismatic. If you take the first one, you will be offered the rest of them. Wow, really? I'll Be the Legs bonus resist is going to be nerfed a bit. The attack speed is going to be nerfed, and they also don't grant Senna and Gangplank. The health is going to be nerfed for I'll Be the Head for both gold and prismatic, but the prismatic one now also grants a Yone. Okay, this is a little bit weird. It seems like they're kind of guaranteeing it. Mighty Mech's prismatic has been an incredibly elusive chase that lacked in autonomy, as you could be offered one of the augments needed to hit the trait, but none of the others. We're changing this to give you more control of your prismatic pursuits. Still, with this newfound reliability, we're dramatically downshifting the power of the individual augments, making it less of an RNG game and more of a can you survive to level 10 without econ or significant combat power augments. 2 other prismatic quests have just been out of reach, but school's back in session, so study up and you'll be able to ace the academy and save the world. Okay, so Star Guardian mana threshold is going to be dropped a little bit. Battle Academia threshold 175 to 160, and then Battle Academia tooltip rephrased to better indicate that the effect counts items on champions only. Now onto 3-cost units. I still don't see Udyr here. I'm getting a little scared. Ari 3-star damage is going to be buffed up a little bit. Viego 3-star damage is also going to be buffed up, so hopefully Viego reroll is going to be back in the meta. I feel like Duelist should be rerolly, right? Like the Udyr build should be played with Viego, not with Ashe, because they're both 3-cost, but because Udyr's so OP and Ashe is so good in a stall comp, like you don't need Viego. That's the one issue there. So 4-cost Poppy 3-star primary target damage is going to be buffed. Same with secondary Cassante 3-star. Okay, so they're just buffing 3-stars for Cassante, Leona, Ryze, and Jarvan. I hit 3-star Ryze earlier today. He did a ton of damage. I don't know if he really needs this to win, but like, yeah, it helps, right? I thought he actually would do more. So I guess the buff does make sense. And then now onto bug fixes. So we're getting jinxed a little bit, just like the rolling waves, in case you haven't studied wave theory yet, but Jhin will no longer lose his 4 shots bonus damage when his attack animation is cancelled before firing. Darius is no longer offered Killer Instinct. Support items removed from Double Up Assist Armory, Crystal Rose 7 and 10 now properly grant progress in TikTok trials. The crew's first bonus now gives correct shop odds for Ziggs at levels 8 and higher. Fixed tooltip errors in Juggernaut Crown and Bastion Crown. Crystal Gambit no longer auto cash outs on subsequent double downs after failing the first double down. Mighty Mech can no longer spawn sometimes on the opposite side of the board when champions are auto fielded and spawning the Mighty Mech. Robo Chef fixed a bug where Mighty Mech's items counted towards the cooking bot augment. Hard Bargain is now banned in double up. Callista's overkill damage is no longer incorrectly amplified during overtime. Kaisa no longer fails to cast with the mage power up when her target dies and no other targets are in range. Augment power is no longer offered on the earlier augments encounter. Reroll transfer will now only appear in the first augment round. Fix an issue where audio for emote 234 is missing for Kuro and Shiro for all variants. Final form properly removes itself after combat ends. Mighty Mech's Prismatic no longer occasionally fails to activate the first turn the player completes the quest. Rising Chaos properly applies its reduced efficiency to magic resist reduction. Stormbender's damage can no longer critically strike. Wow, are you kidding me? So, okay, the Rise Senna build on last patch, you'd take double Stormbender on it, and it was hilarious because Stormbender could crit. So that's why you use Rise and Senna, because they're both executioners with a lot of crit. But now they're removing that, so it's not going to be as fun anymore. But they buffed Icebender, so Rise can definitely use that. So maybe Stormbender on Senna, Icebender on Rise, who knows. Maybe the double Stormbender can still work though. Best defense damage can no longer critically strike, and then Shadow Clone's items damage is now correctly reduced. That was the little Caitlyn bug from before. Pack Tactics damage no longer applies on hit effects. So lots of changes there. You guys know already what I think is going to be pretty good in this next patch. It's going to be the Senna reroll comp. Like, you didn't have to reroll it, but like the Rise Senna build, definitely going to be something to look out for. Gangplank, I hope, is back as a reroll comp. Maybe there's a Gangplank plus Viego build you could try out, because Viego 3-star also got buffed a bit. I know Gangplank was pretty oppressive before, but yeah, like, he was too bad after the nerfs. Speaking of nerfs, the Luchadors, yeah, for Luchador, I don't know if it's looking that up for them, because they got hit pretty hard, and no one was playing the Edgelord Luchador version last patch. Like, maybe 1 out of every 5 games I'd see it. Like, it'd do pretty well, but obviously people only go for it if they get it for free. So I think we're not going to see Volibear in the next patch. Mundo probably still going to be good, though. Caitlyn definitely got nerfed a bit. And I think it should still be playable, because as long as she could still kill backline carries in one shot, maybe you don't even go Shadow Clone, maybe you just go like some power up that just buffs up her damage or something like that. It still should be enough to kill the backline, because that's all she really needs to do. But definitely does hurt her a bit. A nerf definitely is a nerf. Karma, the touch up, and Yumi, perfectly fine there. Like, they weren't OP by any means, but they were pretty good, right? So hopefully with them nerfed a bit, the other 4 costs can kind of shine as well. So very interesting patch. I'm going to be updating the meta snapshot on bunnymuffins.lol either on Thursday or Friday, with some updates directly on the website on Wednesday. So definitely look out for that if you haven't already. But let me know down in the comments how your climbs are going. What comps are you looking forward to in this next patch? Did you try the double Stormbender tech in the previous patch? I didn't really talk about it too much because it was like a very, very niche comp. And honestly, it was just okay. Like, it wasn't OP by any means, but it was kind of fun to look at. But it was very RNG heavy, depending on where the storm went. But I played it a few times. I think I averaged like maybe a 3.0 with it. So I definitely did do well with it, but I don't think it was like OP by any means. It was only good because no one played it before, but now everyone's going to play it. So we'll have to see how it performs when it is contested. But that's going to be it from me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time.